Welcome back to Missing a Daily Upload. I'm your host, the guy that got really sick. Still a little sick, but I am better enough to where I can talk. Yesterday was pretty bad. So, today we have another workshop day because I was quite surprised by the response I got from the workshop episode where I actually took you guys through the deck building process to see how it goes. A lot of you really liked that. So I figured I would keep doing that. Now, unfortunately, yesterday I got a daily challenge that I didn't want to pass up because it was a daily challenge for the deck I was planning on making. So what I'm going to do is, instead of taking you through the raw process, I'm just going to spend an episode giving you an in-depth look at the deck, almost like we're building it from scratch. And then next episode I will play it. So it's time to take a look at one of the most popular Psychic decks out there right now. I realized that I had the cards to put it together, so I did no research on this deck. Depending on how it performs, so far it's doing pretty good. As you can see here, overall wins 3, overall played 4. I lost to a Pikachu Zekrom tag team, which is, if that deck is set up right, it just explodes in about 5 seconds. Pretty insane stuff. But so far it's doing pretty well without any research. So we will take a look at this Psychic deck, and this is all based around ya boy, Darkwing Necrozma GX. This is a pretty insane card. The one disadvantage it has is that it's not a hefty damage dealer, but you'll see from the combos in this deck that if you get set up right, it doesn't even really matter. So the biggest thing from this guy is the ability Invasion. Once during your turn, before you attack, if this Pokemon is on your bench, you may switch it with your active Pokemon. This is huge because that means as long as I get a Float Stone on this guy to give him a free retreat cost, I can fully control whatever I want out in front. If I'm not ready for him to be out in front, I just have him on the bench, move him into the active. If I'm like, oh, I want a different Pokemon out that's not Darkwing Necrozma and not my active Pokemon, I Invasion, pop out to the front, then do my 1 retreat per turn, pop out to the Pokemon I want. So this ability is very versatile, very helpful in a lot of pinches. Its main attack, Dark Flash, 3 Psychic Energy for 120 damage, not affected by resistance. Not bad, but definitely not the best to have to get 3 energy down for 120, which nowadays is not going to knock out most of the heavy hitters. But we will get to why 3 energy is actually not that bad and quite fast for this deck with some of the other cards we're running. And then a great attack that I have fucked up on because I forget it exists is Moon's Eclipse GX. Need to pay more attention when I'm doing matches. I've learned a few lessons the hard way. So this is 180 damage for 3 energy. You can use this attack only if you have more prize cards remaining than your opponent. Prevent all effects of attacks, including damage done to this Pokemon during your opponent's next turn. Which means we can slap on 180 damage, and unless our opponent has a forced switch in their hand for that particular turn, we get a free turn where they can't touch us. Which is insane, especially if you consider the fact that if they don't switch, we just got Moon's Eclipse GX off for free. Next turn we throw in a Dark Flash. That's 300 damage total. So if we get a little behind, our opponent has more prize cards than us, we can actually turn that into a huge upset. So next component of the deck. Why did I say that getting 3 energy for 120 damage is pretty subpar in most decks, but fine in this deck? Well, that is your boy Malamar. So we get this Malamar out. Once during your turn before you attack, you may attach a Psychic Energy card from your discard pile to one of your benched Pokemon. And remember I talked about how the whole point of Necrozma is that we can have him chill on the bench until he's needed up front. So this is a great, very powerful combo here of just get Psychic Energy in our discard pile, and I'll get to that, slap him onto Necrozma, slap him onto other things, and we are good to go. We are going to have ourselves a good time. We've got that staple that I mentioned before, Jirachi. This is great for us not only to fish trainers out of our deck, but it is a great way to bait getting off Darkwing Necrozma GX's Moon Eclipse attack, because at only 70 hit points, most things can just beat this thing. down to the ground. But since it's not a GX Pokemon, our opponent is only taking one prize card. Not a huge deal if it's going to get us ahead of the game and potentially lead us into a Moon's Eclipse GX. So we've got 3 Jirachi in there, fish some trainers out of our deck. And the other cool thing, I'm going to show one trainer here before I finish the Pokemon just to explain this combo. Normally people like to run a Pokemon tool called Escape Board with Jirachi because it reduces the retreat cost by 1, Jirachi's retreat cost is 1, and with an Escape Board you can retreat even if you're asleep, which means that Jirachi falling asleep after using this ability doesn't matter to you, you just get it out of there. But with Float Stone making the retreat cost free, we don't even need a skateboard because we just get a Float Stone on Darkwing Necrozma and Jirachi's no longer in the active position if that's what we want. So another great combo there, all based around the Invasion ability. Alright, let's take a look at the rest of the Pokemons here. I'm running 1 Tapu Lele, which is another card you guys have seen before. When you throw it on the bench, you search your deck for a supporter card. Can be very helpful. Probably not going to use for an attack, but you never know. Maybe Tapu Cure GX will happen, even though I've never seen it played. Anything can happen there. Here in Oricorio, we have a great counter to the deck that I hate the most, Night March. So Night March is a very annoying deck, in my opinion, that got even better in expanded format because of Marshadow GXs they released. Night March is based around getting a boatload of Pokemon in your discard pile. So with Supernatural Dance, for 1 energy, we can just spread damage across their entire team and really punish them for running that annoying piece of shit. No, I'm just I'm joking. I don't know why I hate it so much. It's not that it's overpowered. Like, I've beaten it. There's something about it that's just so annoying to me because it just every turn 1 in a Night March deck is always insane. It doesn't matter what's in their hand. So let's keep going here. We've got Sigilif GX, a great tech card if you are running Psychic. This isn't like Keldeo GX where it prevents damage from GX and EX Pokemon. Instead, if this one is damaged by an attack from your opponent's Pokemon GX or Pokemon EX, put damage counters on the attacking Pokemon equal to the damage done to this Pokemon. So Sigilif GX is basically a no-you counter where we can punish the opponent for focusing too much on EX and GX Pokemon by sending this out, and however much damage they want to deal to us, they have to be willing to take. Speaking of punishing EX and GX Pokemon, we have Weezing, which you guys saw in the Gallade deck. Now this, I am not sure if I am keeping. I'm not going to take it out yet, because so far I'm 3-1 with this deck, so I want to play test it a little more. However, I think in this particular deck, Weezing doesn't work very well. So the reason I put it in was just a little tech card to have a non-EX attacker, because there are some EX and GX blockers like Keldeo that would shut down a lot of my deck. This also punishes people for using too many basic Pokemon with its ability to Detention Gas, the 1 damage counter on each of your opponent's basic Pokemon between turns, and Splattering Sludge deals 20 damage to bench Pokemon that have any damage counters on it. Great counter to tag team focus decks, basic EX and GX focus decks. The only trouble that I realized is that it may not be worth it when I'm only running 1 copy. Because this card takes a couple turns to really get its ability going, and at 120 HP and no defenses against those big EX and GX Pokemon, they'll just turn around and kill it super fast. So this card may not be worth it, but I'm going to keep it in for now, see how it goes for a couple more matches. Last 2 things in the Pokemon, we have the Ditto Prism, which lets us evolve Ditto into either Weezing or Malamar, since we're running 2 Stage 1 Pokemon. If you're running a lot of Stage 1 Pokemon in your deck, I highly recommend getting this card. You can only have 1 of it in the deck, but it can evolve into any of your Stage 1 boys, which is helpful. And lastly, one more tech card. We've got a boy, Mr. Mime, with Scoop Up Block. So since I have the Weezing in there, which is kind of spreading damage out, and my main attacker is a guy that is not getting like 1 or 2 hit knockouts, I thought I would throw in this Scoop Up Block ability so that they can't use like things like Acerola, Super Scoop Up, to just get rid of any damage I do, and I'm back at square one. That is it for the Pokemon. In the energy department, we have got 10 Psychic Energy, And now let's get to the real meat of any Pokemon deck, them trainers, the things that keep you going. So I have the computer search for A-Spec. A-Spec is an old mechanic that is only in expanded format now, where you can't have more than one A-Spec card in your deck, so my card of choice was computer search. Super simple, just discard 2 cards from your hand, search your deck for a card, and put it into your hand. Boom jams. Got some field blowers to get rid of Pokemon tool cards and stadium cards. There's a decently popular Pokemon, Garbodor, that if you get a tool attached to it, it shuts down all abilities. So this is mainly to get rid of that, but also there are some pesky Pokemon tools and stadiums that I don't like. And most people only run 1 field blower in the deck, so I feel like I can throw off some of the more competitive players by having 2. A great item card that has made Psychic decks insane lately is this one, Mysterious Treasure. This is just a more powerful Ultra Ball. Ultra Ball is discard 2 cards from your hand, search your deck for a Pokemon. Now this is limited to Psychic and Dragon types, but still, you only have to discard 1 card from your hand, which is a huge difference. And this actually synergizes really well with us, because typically what I will do is I will discard a Psychic Energy so that it's in the discard pile, then I will use Malamar to attach it from my discard to a benched Pokemon, and I basically discarded 0 cards in the end, and got whatever Psychic Pokemon I wanted out of my deck. That's why Mysterious Treasure is freaking insane. I have a couple Nest Balls, just since most of the Pokemon in the deck are basic Pokemon. This is a quick way to get them out. I'm not sure if I will keep those or swap to a different kind of Pokeball. We will see. 4 versus Seeker, pretty staple in Expanded, just getting supporter from discard pile into your hand. Very powerful, get some reusability out of the supporters that you're only running 1 or 2 of. For my stadium of choice, and I've been back and forth on this, I went with Viridian Forest. So once during each player's turn, that player may discard a card from their hand. If they do, they search their deck for a basic energy card. So this was to combo with Malamar, where I basically discard a Psychic Energy, get a Psychic Energy, and then I have 2 energy for the turn to attach. However, it's also a great way to thin out the deck, because the more cards I can get out of my deck, the better chance I have of drawing exactly what I need, instead of like drawing an energy when I already had one in my hand, for example. I've thought about, I'm still going back and forth on this, taking out one of these and throwing in a Dimension Valley. Dimension Valley makes Psychic Pokemon attacks cost 1 colorless less. The reason I'm on the fence is because that doesn't help Darkwing Necrozma at all. However, it would help like Sigilif GX. I'd only need 2 energy to attack. Tapu Lele, I'd only need 1 to attack. Only 2 for Malamar. So it helps out my tech Pokemon. But my focus is Darkwing Necrozma, which is why I'm not sure if Dimension Valley would make this deck better or not. But I think I may experiment with running 2 Viridian Forest and 1 Dimension Valley, just to have it in there as an in-case thing on a situational basis, instead of swapping completely. In the supporter department, we've got 1 Acerola. You guys have seen that before. Bounce a Pokemon with all my different energy acceleration methods. Getting a fully energied up Pokemon back into my hand really shouldn't hurt me too much, and that can slow down my opponent quite a bit if they land a big hit without knocking me out. 1 Bridget to get 3 basic Pokemon out of my deck and onto the bench. 1 Chorus to shuffle based on the number and draw based on the number of benched Pokemon. I'm definitely filling up my bench very quickly with this deck. So I'll be getting at least 5 off of Chorus. That's only if my opponent is not benching any Pokemon. 4 Cynthia. I love this freaking art. I wish I had more of this. This card's $100 in real life. I was very lucky to just pull it out of a pack. And I think I mentioned this in a previous episode, that someone was offering 45 digital packs of one of the Sun and Moon sets for a copy of this card. 2 Guzma. Instead of running Lysander, I figured Guzma would be even better for this deck because of how much power I have in controlling what my active Pokemon is. If I'm in a place where I want to force a switch on my opponent's Pokemon, but not my own, it really doesn't matter because I can just play the Guzma and then do all my switching with Necrozma afterwards. So I got 2 copies of Guzma, 2 copies of Lily, just get some basic card draw out of the deck, And like I said, the 4 copies of Float Stones. It's very important to get that no retreat cost up on Necrozma, or else a lot of this deck is shut down. So that is it. That is Wheel of Necros, and I will play it in the next episode. So I hope you guys enjoyed, since you got such a positive response from the first workshop episode. I'll catch you guys next time for more Pokemon. Alright, a little bonus clip, because you guys are about to see a spicy meme right here. This is going to be one of the biggest attacks I've ever gotten off with Slowpoke and Psyduck GX. It is going to be hilarious. Yeah, no, I want to save versus Seeker, but it's time to do it for the meme. Here we go. Ditch and Splash. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Ha-bam! Just because I can. 320 damage. Alright, there's also a daily challenge for dealing damage with Water-type Pokemon, so that was very helpful in me completing it, because the challenges are getting longer. Anyways, that's the bonus clip for you. Just insane number of supporters in my hand, hopefully kicking this guy's ass. I don't think he has any answer for me at this point, but I'm going to leave it here because I don't want to make the video super long. I just wanted to show the spicy meme.